I gotta admit, it's a little awkward to be making this video right now. Marathon may not be a large commercial success or anything like that. It's not like game of the year, you know, there isn't millions of people obsessing over it, but I think it's a pretty good game. I had a lot of fun in Season 1. There's a whole video I uploaded talking about Season 1. Granted, I was pretty critical in that video. I had a lot of things to say about the meta and the economy, like many others have, but I've been pretty valiantly defending this game online, and I've been, you know, hoping that more people will give it a try, and saying as many positive things as I can, because I do truly, really love Marathon. I think it's a super good game. But that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna admit when they drop the ball. And unfortunately, for the game's second season ever, I think they have in a lot of pretty big ways. If you keep up with the Marathon community at all, you've probably already seen a lot of people talking about the PvE mode and how the economy of the game has been and how fast the progression has felt at the beginning of the season compared to how it felt pretty much all throughout Season 1. You might have seen some positive things. I mean, there's some people who like it. I've seen some arguments for it. And it's good that, you know, people have had fun with the PvE mode, but when it comes down to it, at least in my personal opinion, the game's progression is what kind of made it so interesting and so fun. It made me kept logging in throughout Season 1. In Season 2 of Marathon, as I mentioned, they did a PvE mode. It was supposed to be like a PvE light kind of thing. They first tried it on the new map during the free-to-play week. You could only go into sponsored kits, and it would just be you, your teammates, and rooks. Kind of a big problem. Nobody actually played Rook on Sponsored Survival. I mean, I've seen a couple clips every once in a while, but every time I loaded in as Rook, I couldn't find any players, and anytime I loaded in as a team, I couldn't find any Rooks. They just kind of weren't around. Because of that, the PvE mode for Night March was just kind of like a big loot pinata that everybody could go hit. Not everybody was able to get maximum gains out of it, because not everybody was good enough to, I suppose, but the people who were able to do the entire map and progress it in the way that you were intended, you know, you go activate the towers, and that leads you to caches of gear, and then you get keys to Upper Complex, and you go to Upper Complex, you do the thing, you kill the boss, you get into the last room, and instead of it being like normal beginning of the season loot, where it's like some blues, maybe a purple shield or a purple bag or something like that, you were getting like a cryo archive vault. I guess a mini cryo archive vault, rather. There was pretty much always a gold gun, a bunch of purple salvage and blue salvage and purple shields out the ass, and, you know, bags everywhere, just all kinds of crazy loot. So people were able to just grind it for the first week and really inflate the amount of stuff that they had. And, you know, that is kind of economy ruining. Luckily, the game has a system in place to keep these guns and bags and stuff like that from just existing forever, with there being traces on gear. And I think it's only like 4 or 5 people can loot an item before it just can't be looted and it turns into credits. Which is, you know, good. It does kind of circumvent the issue a little bit. It doesn't change the fact that these people were able to get a ton of golds and purples and just go slam people in the normal modes and take all their loot. Just kind of run over everybody who wasn't doing it or wasn't good enough to do Upper Complex. And there was also the brand new system they added called the Cradle. The Cradle lets you customize your stats, and there's a bunch of nodes from the factions last season where you would get upgrades to things like, you know, your generated heat, your loot speed, just your agility stat, certain upgrades like your knife attacks now giving you health, things like that. All that got moved into the Cradle. And the way that you get Cradle XP is by just destroying gear that you do not want. You turn it into Cradle XP, you keep the Cradle XP for the whole rest of the season, and boom, you know, it's that simple. You just get upgrades between runs. So even though there are traces and this loot can't exist in the actual game world for all that long, people were able to, in the first week, just by spamming Night March, to get their Cradle all the way to max level, which is level 70. Having the Cradle at max level lets you max out every single stat except for one. So there's now just people who are ahead, period. Like, cross-run progression. They're already done with their Cradle. They are simply going to have more options and be more powerful than other people who didn't do it. But, you know, it's not that big of a deal. This gear will get destroyed by traces. You can still level up your Cradle relatively easily, and you still have access to all this loot outside of Sponsored Survival. At least, that would have been the case. Except Bungie has just started nerfing loot acquisition across the board. It's a lot harder to get all this gear that people were getting because, I mean, it's just not there most of the time now. You know, you'll go to Upper Complex and you'll get a reasonable amount of start of season loot. And they've also been nerfing how much Cradle XP you get from dismantling certain gear. So it's a lot harder now to catch up with your Cradle. So basically, if you didn't play during the first week of the season, the 3-month-long season, you are now just behind. No matter how behind you are, no matter how easy it might be to catch up, that sucks. That does not feel good at all for anybody. Well, obviously, I guess it would feel good for the people who no life for the first week, but that's besides the point, because that's not everybody. I personally, just playing today, trying to get B-roll footage for this video, felt not grinding during the first week a ton because my Cradle, you know, I only had 2 things I could max out, and I was trying to knife people, and it's like, oh, my knife isn't doing very much damage. I now have to actually make a choice and sacrifice some of another stat to get more melee stat. I wouldn't have to do that if my Cradle was level 70 and I could just max out almost everything anyway. So it feels like a pretty big punishment. It's discouraging. It makes me not want to log in, and a lot of people feel the same. I've seen a lot of people online saying that this is like killing the game, which maybe I wouldn't go that far. I think the game will inevitably recover when we get the next seasonal reset, or hell, maybe even the mid-season update, but adding this cross-run progression that is dependent on destroying valuable loot, and then nerfing all the ways to get valuable loot, and nerfing how fast you can progress the thing 3 weeks into the season is just kind of absurd. I mean, it doesn't feel right. It feels like really, really poorly timed. I understand that they messed up and you have to correct course a little bit, but my God, people are really unhappy with this. I mean, I'm really unhappy with this. That's why I'm deciding to stop holding my tongue and make an actually just negative video about Marathon. I feel very strongly about this. How am I supposed to recommend this game to people and, you know, say, oh, it's super fun, you should try it, you'll have a blast, when I know that at a certain point, they're just gonna start getting rolled over by people who are way ahead of them, and it's gonna take them way more time to catch up than it should. It's a good time to start playing the game. Kind of always is because of level-based matchmaking. I mean, you're gonna go against people who just started, but the mid-game is just not going to be very fun this season. I mean, you're just going to be running into people who have insanely inflated Cradle XP and just have more stats and more options than you do. It may not sound that impactful, but trust me, I mean, your stats really matter, and some of these upgrade nodes are really good, like getting way faster ability recharge and things like that. And if you don't have all that, I mean, legitimately, you're going to stand less of a chance. And these people having better loot at the beginning of the season has let them snowball a lot more effectively. I mean, they're going to keep having better loot for the rest of the season because they have more tools to just mow people down. And I think the biggest thing that sucks about all of this is not necessarily how fun, like, the mid-season experience is going to be, which, I mean, we've been launched into the mid-season within the first couple of weeks because of all this. It's just about the fact that we missed out on the early season. I mean, that was the most fun part of Season 1. You know, just having blue gear being your best stuff and getting genuinely excited about getting purples and golds. And, you know, it felt bad when you ran into a team full of gold shields and just, like, gold bullies and things like that, but it didn't happen nearly as often as it will now. The game feels a lot better to play when it feels like you are on an even playing field with other people. Obviously, there will always be a point in the season when that changes, but it just kind of felt like day one, we just went straight back to how the end of Season 1 felt. That's not good. The entire purpose of a wipe is to reset everybody. They sped up progression so much that it just didn't matter, and now them trying to correct course is just causing even more damage. I really feel like if they just left things how they were, I mean, yeah, the season would have sucked a bit, but at least it wouldn't feel like now you're just being punished constantly. I believe I talked about this in my Marathon Season 1 video, but I didn't think the Waster nerf was very well timed doing it in the middle of the season. They should have either done it, like, immediately right after the game came out, or just waited until Season 2. Big meta shifts like that, early on or in the middle of the season, just kind of mess up a lot of people. You know, in Season 1, I wasn't keeping very many Mizrayas, and then in the middle of the season, it just becomes the better gun. Now, me and a lot of other people are going to have that same feeling of just not being prepared for the meta shift, except that, you know, it's week 3. It really sucks. I hope that Bungie and the Marathon team can correct course, because, I mean, this has just been very negative for the game. Also, you know, Marathon, I feel like, has been given a very, unfair hand in the public eye with all the controversy and everything that it's been through. You know, some of it, like the art theft, I mean, that was absolutely justified for people to be upset about, even if I think it definitely got overblown into people saying like the whole art style was stolen and things like that, when it was just some assets. People don't really talk about that anymore, but it kind of shot the game in the foot from the beginning. It also just went through development hell. You've had a lot of people online trying to somehow push political agendas about the game, saying the game is like super woke and you shouldn't play it because of things like that. The Arc Raiders playtest came out around the same time as the Marathon Public Alpha, and people just loved the Arc Raiders playtest and did not like Marathon's Alpha. I mean, the game has just been getting shot down constantly. And now, of course, you know, Destiny 2 gets end of service announced, which that game is a much bigger deal in the greater gaming space than Marathon is, and people just hard focus on that, and we get this amazing Destiny 2 update right after we get kind of a stinker Marathon one. And I feel like that has just added to the negative sentiment online and made people even more upset. I mean, there's this perception that Bungie killed Destiny for Marathon, and while I disagree with it, and I don't think it makes very much sense, I haven't ever really seen any good arguments for any reason that Destiny died other than because Destiny was unsustainable for the entire 12 years that it existed. It just sucks. I mean, arguments like that are really never going to go away now. People are just going to use the game as a punching bag, and it's going to be humiliating for people like me who actually like the game and play it a lot to just sit there and watch everybody hate on it for no reason. It's very unfortunate. Obviously, it's not the online sentiment that makes me not want to play right now. It is the season itself. I'm not trying to say that. I think it would be pretty stupid for me to, like, stop enjoying a game that I like and just kind of walk back my opinions on it just because people don't like it online. That's not what's happening. It's just, as somebody who is trying to be more committed to the game and playing a lot and putting in a lot of effort to try and get the best stuff that I can and play as best that I can and improve as much as I can, having a giant economy and progression issue right at the beginning of the season is just like, it's so discouraging. I did not want to play basically a Destiny 2 strike. I mean, that's what PvE Night March kind of felt like. Obviously, you take a lot more damage in Marathon than you do in Destiny. You don't have all the things that make you invincible to make it way easier, but it just kind of wasn't very fun. I didn't want to farm that, and I figured I'll just kind of go through the pain to get it all in PvP, and they nerf everything, and it's like, it's just not the experience that I wanted. I'm very much on the team of, if Bungie wants to do PvE, they need to have like a separate vault, a separate economy. It basically needs to be a separate game mode. I understand why they're, you know, taking a step into having more PvE focused gameplay so early. It's what a lot of people want. A lot of people completely turn down the game because it doesn't have a PvE mode, but like, this isn't that. It is a mode within the PvP mode that just gives you a lot of free loot unless somebody decides to play Rook, and maybe they grief you a little bit, but a lot of Rook's options to, like, completely destroy 3 stacks are just gone. It's a lot harder to win those 1v3s now. It's really scary to see all this happening. You know, I don't want this game to just, like, fail and fall off within the first year and people stop caring about it because things like this keep happening, and I really want Bungie to correct course, but it just, like, it does not instill very much hope that they're responding to all this player feedback in ways that feel very rushed and reactionary to try and just grasp an audience that isn't there. You know, I obviously don't know if that's exactly the case. I don't work at Bungie. I don't really have insights into Marathon's development or anything like that. It's certainly what it feels like. And now I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for either the mid-season update or Season 3 to get me interested in the game again, because I'm just not. And I have a feeling that the player count isn't going to be nearly as consistent as last season and not really recover all that much. I'm obviously biased. You know, I exist in my own online spaces of people who take games super seriously and are genuinely, like, very upset that all this happened and aren't very interested like I am. I want to see more opinions from people who are more casual. I mean, casual opinions very much matter for the success and longevity of a game, and I mean, that's what I'm worried about the most right now. I guess I don't care as much that Marathon is interesting to me right now, but I care that, you know, it'll continue to exist because I'm not gonna, like, drop the game over a bad season launch. And hopefully, you know, me uploading a video will open the door to me seeing more varied opinions on it. But, I mean, I truly, honestly, like, just on the internet in general, I have not seen people saying good things about this. I don't want to get, like, super doomer and say, like, you know, this is probably the end or anything like that. But, you know, there's a balance to be had between satisfying your casual player base and satisfying your hardcore player base. I think Marathon Season 1 definitely leaned a bit more towards hardcore players, but they just pulled it back way too hard. Like, a complete 180, a complete overcorrection. I mean, this can't feel good for the casual players either, who now feel like they're super behind, maybe because they just didn't have as much time to play during the first week. Or maybe they couldn't clear Upper Complex, which, I mean, if you couldn't clear Upper Complex, you're probably just going to feel behind the whole season anyway, because I doubt people who can't do that are clearing Pinwheel or Cryo Archive, but I guess that's kind of besides the point. Hopefully, you know, Bungie finds that balance, and they can keep Marathon going strong, but unfortunately for them, the only, like, super successful extraction shooter is Arc Raiders. Tarkov exists. I mean, it's definitely been the most popular in the genre for a while. There's also, like, Hunt Showdown, but, you know, Bungie doesn't really have many people to copy off of, you know, see what they did well and just execute that even better. It puts them in a really tough position, and I think if the game keeps, you know, just having this boomerang between super casual and super hardcore, and, oh, we add all this OP stuff, and then, oh, we nerf it because it was way too much, or we make all this stuff super hard, and then, oh, we have to nerf it because people just can't do it. I mean, if they can't find that balance, then the casuals aren't going to want to play, and the hardcore players aren't going to want to play either, and it would just be very sad to see the game not do well. I'm going to keep trying to have faith, though, you know? I don't think this is the end or anything. It's just how I feel. I mean, if I were telling a Bungie employee right now how I feel about Season 2, I don't really think I'm holding anything back. I believe in them. I know that this game can be really great, and I want it to be. But right now, man, it's just not it. And, you know, they're showing some patterns that are worrying me. That is pretty much all I have to say about Marathon Season 2 for now. I am not exactly sure what to keep doing content-wise, because I did just start making YouTube videos, and, you know, I think I have to count now. Yeah, I've uploaded 6 videos that are at least moderate effort. 5 of them have been about Marathon. 1 of them is about Destiny. You know, this will make 7 videos, 6 about Marathon. So it's kind of my whole thing right now. I gotta do something else. I can't just, like... I don't want to keep making videos about the same game, and I only have so many opinions, and if the game's not going to be holding my interest, you know, I just got to do something else. But this is just kind of where I'm at. If you watched the video at this point, you know, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you don't think I'm a complete idiot or anything, and if you do, please leave a comment letting me know. You know, like it if you like it, and all that. Again, that's all I really have to say. At this point, I'm just rambling on. So that is going to be it. Goodbye, and I will see you in the next video. Marathon, Destiny, whatever I make next.